Hi, folks. Andrew here, Top Fitness Strategies. I am the face who runs the place. And if you didn't know, Top Fitness Strategies is all about the fitness over 50 crowd. I'm here to help you look better, feel better, and gain some confidence. And I do that through a series of writings, videos, podcasts, you name it. That's what I do. And I also love to interview guests. So that's what this podcast is today. Podcast, video cast, however you want to look at it. I will bring my guest on right now. My guest is Stacey Crew. Stacey is a certified health coach, organizing expert, and two-time published author, wellness coach, and radio host. She helps individuals achieve improved nutrition and balance by providing a supportive environment to achieve goals and live a more fulfilling life. And now to add to all that, Stacey, you can say you were a guest on Top Fitness Strategies. Welcome, Stacey Crew.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Andrew. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Now, you being a radio host, you are a professional beyond belief. You're running into me, who's probably the total opposite of what you're used to. And I know I told you this beforehand, but I got to tell all of our listeners and watchers, I am probably going to be the most prepared host you've ever run into. And the reason being, I like the conversation just flow as we go along. So because of that, I have a couple of topics I wrote down. Whether I get to them or not, I don't know. But as we go through this, of course, I want this to be all about you because you are the featured guest. But it's my show, so I got to talk a little bit. So one of those kind of things.
Absolutely.
So all that being said, so first thing I want to touch on is I know because this is all about health and fitness, of course. But one of the things you did is the Mind Body Kitchen. One of your books, Transform You and Your Kitchen to a Healthier Lifestyle. Now, I bring this up, and again, sorry to dominate the conversation, but I got to at the beginning. I bring this up because one of my huge things with the health and fitness thing is mindset. And so when I saw the Mind Body Kitchen, I said, I got to contact Stacey. I got to have her on here. So first of all, tell me about you, and then let's go on to the books and everything else.
Sure. Thanks.
Now.
Well, I'll let you in. First, I'll let you in on a little secret. So I do prepare for my radio shows, and I do it more for my guests than for myself. And I'll come up with half a dozen questions just so we have, it's kind of like taking a little journey, like I've got the map, but we don't necessarily, follow it to the T. So I love the spontaneity of just kind of diving into a conversation. So I'm all for it.
And it's great then. Fantastic.
So as far as the Mind Body Kitchen philosophy, I think that sort of developed because I really, first and foremost, we do have to pay attention to our mindset when we're doing anything, really, especially when we're embarking on a health journey. It's hard to make change. It's hard to change habits. It's hard to maintain those habits. But if we can tweak our mindset here and there and kind of get into a space of being open for the change, not perfection by any means, but just open to some change, and then gradually make these little tweaks as we move forward in our journey, it can mean the difference between success and failure.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely, because that's exactly what I always say. If your mind isn't right, you can go through the motions, but it's not gonna. It may help you a little bit, but unless you get all the parts going, what's the point? In my opinion,
I think that there are a lot of. I'm trying to grasp at an example here of throwing someone into a situation where they do need to make changes, but yet the mindset hasn't been addressed. I'll think of one, but you do have to approach any new venture or any change that you make in your life with an open mindset and being willing to adopt some new ideas, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. I want to backtrack a little bit because I kind of jumped the gun and asked you about that because I'm so always pumped up about the mindset thing.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into the mindset and the body and the kitchen and everything else? Where do you come from? How did you develop all this stuff?
And that's interesting because it did kind of happen like that. It started with the mind, then the body, and then the kitchen. So, exactly. So going way back, and I'm talking now like my early 20s, I started to become kind of a self-help junkie in a lot of ways. It started with Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And someone in my life gave me that book, and it changed things for me because I started making the connection between what was going on physically and what was happening upstairs. So I started then to realize the importance of just looking at what was happening in my brain and in my mind and how it was connected to my body. So for a long time, I was just really reading a lot of books. I wasn't necessarily doing a whole lot of physical activity. I did when I was a teenager, but then, as a young adult, I don't know. And I wasn't the healthiest. This was the 80s, so I was drinking a lot of coffee. I was smoking cigarettes, not proud of it, and gave those up when I was about 28. But so then, things progressed. I reached a point in my life where I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. And I didn't want to go the medication route. I'm not against medication. I support, if that's somebody's choice and what they feel they need to do for them, definitely do that. But I was trying to avoid that for myself. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do here to ease some anxiety? So it was as simple as really saying, I'm going to go to the gym. Like I hadn't been to the gym in years. I didn't know what was going to happen there. I really didn't know how I felt about it. But I had a couple of hours that I just showed up, paid my $10 a month at Planet Fitness, got on a treadmill and said, all right, I'm just going to do 30 minutes. It's not going to be pretty, but I'm going to do 30 minutes on the treadmill, and I'm going to go back 3 more times this week. And I did that. And it was so interesting and surprising how quickly the momentum started to build, because after 2 weeks, I was not running all the time. I was doing this kind of running, walking thing. And then all of a sudden it was like, I need a goal because I'm very goal oriented. So I was like, all right, I'm going to sign up for a 10K. And it was about 8 weeks out. I figured, I'll sign up. And anyway, I did that, kept running, found a running partner, synchronicities just kind of continued to happen. And then 13 months after that day that I said I'm going to go to the gym, I ran a half marathon. I know.
Yeah, why not? You do it. Yeah.
Now, I've only ever run 1 half marathon, but I did it. And I felt like I really felt pretty fantastic, because what I learned throughout that year was a lot of it had to do with what was going on up here. So I did have to shift some things. And then when I was running, it was like I would run and then I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to run for another 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden I was running for 7 more minutes. I'm going to run to the end of the block, and then see how I feel. And then I'd run to another block. So it was just kind of this building in my mind. And then, of course, the body piece of everything entered the situation, because I needed to feed myself better to sustain my body while I was running. And right around that time, I have 2 daughters. They were teenagers, and they both became vegetarians within 6 months of one another. I'm like, oh my gosh. God. Yeah. So I was like, all right, what am I going to feed these girls? And so that began our dive into, getting protein, because everybody thinks, okay, you've got to eat meat to get protein. That's not actually true. So, what do we need to incorporate into our, our regimen every day to make sure we're getting the nutrients we need? And, eventually, I just decided I started to develop some really strong opinions around what supermarkets are selling, and realized that I needed to eat more whole foods, not necessarily from, Whole Foods, but I needed to incorporate more, less processed foods, more foods without labels. And so it just, became this journey. And then I got a certification in health coaching to help other people. And,
Wow. So, all right. You touched on several things here, and
Yeah.
this is why I love doing it this way, because if I had planned questions, I wouldn't have wrote these down. Okay, you said your daughters became vegetarians. All right,
Yes.
close to each other. So my initial thought was because you just got on your health journey, all of a sudden, maybe because you were a vegetarian, but then you said you didn't know what to feed them. So I'm assuming they didn't turn into vegetarians because you were a vegetarian. Is that correct?
No, not at all. In fact,
Okay.
their reasons for making the choices that they did had a lot with to do with what they were learning.
Okay.
It was really a lot about animals
Okay.
um, and the environment. And my oldest daughter graduated college with a degree in environmental studies. So I mean, and she's the one who became the vegan. So
Okay.
this was more of a. In fact, I've been eating meat on and off. You know, I'll go through spurts. I don't buy a lot of meat or cook a lot of meat at home. I'm kind of the less is more, so quality over quantity
Okay.
mindset. But yeah, so no, it didn't have anything to do with my food choices at the time.
Okay. All right. So you also said something, and you and I are so much alike on this aspect. You said you didn't want to go the medication route when you were into the starting to your fitness and health kick back when you started doing it. And I don't know why I
Right.
phrased it that way, but I just did. But you said you didn't want to go the medication route. I am the exact same way. I don't want to say I really watch what I put in my body, but when it comes to medication, I'm very reluctant to take any because I'm a firm believer that the body can heal itself. I'm not saying that medication is bad, not at all. All right,
Right, me either.
because I know some people, I'm sure you do as well, that if it wasn't for medication, they wouldn't be alive today. We
Yeah,
both know that. Most people know that. And for whatever reason, I just don't like. I don't even like to take aspirin. It's
yeah,
very reluctant to take an aspirin. And when I had stitches on my arm once 20 years ago, the doctor prescribed muscle relaxers. I was a big gym rat at the time. Muscle relaxers, I can't have that, so they stayed on the shelf. I didn't get them. My parents were pissed. But that's a different story. That's a different story. So, um,
yeah,
I guess my question is there a reason why you don't want to take medication, or because like me, I
yeah.
can't answer why. I just don't want to. I can't answer why.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And to be fully transparent, I have taken medication in the past, and that might be part of the reason that I didn't want to, because I didn't feel like there were some things and some bigger issues that I needed to deal with.
Okay.
I think so. The backstory: I did take medication. I took Prozac for a long time when I was in my 20s, early 30s,
Mhm.
and I think it probably helped at that time.
Right. All right.
Um, and then for whatever reason, I stopped taking it. Probably, and I should put out a disclaimer here that don't do that. Like, don't just stop taking
Oh,
it if
exactly.
you're taking
Exactly.
medication.
Yes.
Consult your doctor.
Every
I,
time. Right.
I I'm a little rebellious. I kind of buck the system, here and there. So,
Me too.
but I'm a bad pill taker. Like so for me to maintain that daily thing and then to not feel like it was really helping me on top of it, I think it just became more of an annoyance to me. And again, not a great reason to just stop taking something, but
Right. Right.
it's what I did. The bigger reasons, what I realized, and maybe this was just kind of an intuitive thing and why I started running. I knew that on some level I needed to get my body moving. And
Yes.
this is why the mind body kitchen philosophy is my philosophy, because just addressing the mind wasn't doing it. Then adding in the body piece, of getting regular movement, it changed so much for me. I really did feel better. And then the kitchen, of course, was bringing in the food. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm not against medication. I maybe for me too, it was kind of this thing where I felt like I was a little numbed out.
Mhm.
Not even to a point of feeling it. I mean, a low dose of antidepressant shouldn't really make you feel numbed out necessarily. It should just take that edge off, I think. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, as I started running, I just wanted a cleaner body. I wanted um,
I
just
understand.
didn't want to be putting things into my body that I didn't really know were making that big of a difference.
I understand. And once again, and you said this before, a disclaimer for anybody watching this or listening to this,
Yeah.
neither Stacey nor myself are saying do not take medication. Please always consult with your doctor instead of listening to me. I'm just a ding-a-ling gym rat, a former gym rat. So don't listen to me when it comes to medical advice at all. Don't do that, please. So
Absolutely.
so all right, let's get off of that. Let's go back to something here. Okay, the mind body
Sure.
kitchen. And I'm going to hound on this a little bit because I like this. And you said that some of the magic words that I always say on top of mindset, you have to move your body. Now, you went a little on the extreme side for running a half marathon within a year after starting. When you were younger, absolutely, we all did outrageous things, and we all can brag about it and talk about it. My client base, the people I market to, the people I consult with, are usually over 50, and usually are the ones, like I said, my tagline is look better, feel better, gain some confidence. I always say, if you want to show off your body on stage, I'm probably not the guy that's going to help you do that. I can direct you to the right people because I know them just like you do. You know them, but that's not the way I train. First of all, move your body. Your body's designed to move, so do something to move it.
Yes.
Maybe not a marathon, but go for a walk. Do something. And
Yeah.
from what you're saying, that is your philosophy as well, from what I'm understanding. Am I understanding that right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And so I ran for a few years, very consistently and regularly, only doing the one half marathon, but did a lot of 5Ks and all of that. And
Okay.
then I realized that the impact on my body, it was, I was probably, I was right around 50. And I started to feel some impact on my body. So I
Okay.
started incorporating yoga into my routine, yin yoga specific. I mean, I did all kinds, but yin was great for stretching. It's you're low to the ground, you're doing a lot of long stretches. And I found that it was really helping to relieve pressure on my hips.
Okay.
Eventually I transitioned out of running and committed to doing yoga. I was probably doing yoga at least 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay.
And it was great for the body. It was kind of what I needed, I think, in my early 50s. I was trying to find more balance and become centered, and
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't so scared of my feelings anymore. I was willing to really kind of look at them and process them, and yoga was a great way to do that. So I'm kind of forgetting what the question was here. Oh, about moving the body and the importance of it.
We're like two peas in a pod here. I'm telling you. This is great.
So, yeah, it is. So yeah, just any form of movement. I mean, if you sit in a chair all day long, and I've been guilty of this when I'm working and I'm really focused, 4 hours in a chair, you get up and it's like, ow, it doesn't feel good, and you got to kind of regain your footing.
Oh yeah.
So getting up, like I've started to incorporate, I have a dog, so that makes it easy because he
Mhm.
likes to go out. He likes his treats. Anytime I get up from my desk, he's like looking for a treat. So, but I take him out. I get out, I breathe some fresh air, get some sunshine. And, I'll be honest, due to some medical stuff, which I don't need to dive into, that was
Right.
just kind of a thing that happens when
Mhm.
you're older. I did take a break for a while, and now I'm walking and everything and doing all of that, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into yoga because I know I'm drawn to that, and it's a
Good.
combination of the stretching and a combination of even the cardio you can get from yoga that
Absolutely.
really, yeah,
Yep.
just it's so good for the body. Yeah.
You mentioned your dog, and I got to say this, and the folks who have read my stuff or watched my stuff and listened to me have heard this before. But I have a great friend who was my, and I think her and I coined this phrase back in 2006, 2007. But now I hear it everywhere. She
Yeah.
was my first virtual personal trainer. All right, for Top Fitness Strategies. So that's because we never met in person, just always over the phone and through chat at the time, chat rooms and websites and everything else.
Okay.
And but she, her famous phrase, and it was all over my website, and we always joke around about it. She says, "If you have a fat dog, you're not getting enough exercise."
Good point.
And I love that. We wrote papers and did a couple of podcasts. This is before podcasts, even podcasts. We did some audios about it. It's funny. So, all right, get off of that. All right. You are an author. You've written 2 books from what I understand here. One of them we talked about the mind, body, kitchen, transform you and your kitchen to healthy lifestyle. The other one, and this is fascinating to me because I know they go hand in hand somehow, but I don't. I want you to tell me how. It says the organized mom, simplify life. Say it again. The organized mom, simplify life for you and baby one step at a time. How does that relate to health and or fitness, or does it?
Yeah. Well, so it doesn't really relate to health and the health of your mind and body. It's probably more the health of your home and your situation as a new mom. So,
Okay.
we teach what we know, right? We write what we know, and at least I do. So the organized mom, I actually started writing that when my kids were young. They were young, and I was married. I had the house. I had the stuff. I drove the minivan, and my kids had more than they could want for it. And I became super overwhelmed by all their stuff, and my own as well. It just got to be a lot. So a lot of that, the organizing, because I was a professional organizer for quite a few years. And just like I started the health journey, I just started writing immediately. That's kind of how I organize my thoughts, is to get them down on paper. But
Good for you.
yeah. And so I started this decluttering journey, and it actually started when I discovered a book by a woman named Karen Kingston. It's called Clear Your Clutter with Feng Shui. And I was like, oh, it's like a 100-page book. I read it in an afternoon, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to get rid of stuff. So not everybody is that open to purging, things. For me, I had some very clear criteria that I put in place for myself. And it was like, and it's almost like the Marie Kondo thing of today, if something doesn't spark joy, then, out the door it goes, kind of thing.
Oh.
It was a little bit of, it was my criteria. It was like, if I didn't love it and it didn't make me feel good when I looked at something, mostly house accessories. Of course, I wasn't going to get rid of my kids or, but
There were some days you're like, oh, gee.
Yeah, well, I got rid of the husband, so no, I'm kidding. But yeah, I developed some criteria and started to declutter. And in the process of that, I got very specific about organizing things. Being a mom with little kids, having all the stuff, it's a lot, and I just wanted to find a way to ease my mind. So.
Okay. Well, see, when I first read that, the title to it said "The Organized Mom Simplify basically the organized mom." My whole thing was she has that, and then she has the mind body kitchen book. So right away my mind started going, okay, if you organize your kitchen, to me, and you're decluttering the kitchen, so you're getting rid of bad stuff, so to speak. The Twinkies and the potato chips. Oh, I love potato chips. Potato
Me too.
Twinkies you can get rid of. Keep my potato chips, and my microwave popcorn too. There you go. So that's when I thought right away, okay, they go hand in hand, because at first I was thinking, what, they don't make sense together. I'm like, they do. I get it now. That's why I wanted to bring it up and ask you about that, because I'm assuming that once you start decluttering, at least in the kitchen, in my mind, you're getting rid of the stuff that shouldn't be there, in a health wise or unhealthy wise. Is that right?
And you are seeing the direct connection with the 2 books. I mean, the first one just surrounds kind of where I was at in life, a stage that I was in that, was very focused on
Mhm.
stuff, like physical things. And then the Mind Body Kitchen, what I shared with you early on in our time together, is me starting to run and my daughter's becoming vegetarian. And then it began a focus on the kitchen for sure. And I began taking out, I remember when I first started on the journey, I went through my pantry and I kind of feel horrible saying this actually, because I took all the foods I didn't want and I didn't feel like were healthy, put them in a box and I donated them,
Mhm.
which it doesn't always make me feel good, because it's like, I don't think anybody should be eating certain things, I don't, but we
Mhm.
do what we do, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
it helped somebody at the time. So yeah, it was about taking out what really, didn't fit into a new criteria that I had built around what I was going to put in my pantry and my fridge, of course.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Now, Stacey, I only asked for a half hour of your time, and we're coming close to that. So I want to talk about a couple of things. I'll ask you about a couple of things. The Practical Mindset Radio Show,
Yeah.
and as we talked about before, I'm a huge fan of mindset, and because of my past studies in college of radio and everything else, I love this. So tell us about your Practical Mind Radio Show, and where people can find this and how they can listen to it.
Yeah. So I just kind of, just like you're sort of technically, I guess, interviewing me today. We're having a conversation and all of that. I was invited to talk with a woman named Linda McKenzie, who runs healthylife.net. And
Okay.
it's an online radio show, and she's got some amazing hosts. I was invited to talk about the Mind Body Kitchen book. And when we finished up the interview, she reached out to me and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing radio?" And I was like, "No." She's like, I think you should think about this. And, it took me about 5 seconds. And I was like, let me just dive into this. Why not?
Why not?
Um,
Yeah.
I'm I'm naturally curious about people. I love to learn about people, what they're talking about, what they're working on.
Mhm.
And I just felt like it would be a great way to be able to, because nobody wants to hear me talk all the time necessarily, but how could I invite people to have enriching conversations around mindset? And so I do this radio show once a month, but I keep the episodes on my website. So it's
Okay. Okay.
staceycrew.com/radio show. And, I've built a nice bank of interviews with one of my first guests. She runs a not-for-profit around eliminating processed foods, especially with school-age children. I had a doctor whose mission in life, she changed her whole practice, medical practice, to
Okay.
focus on eliminating toxins. And she's got an incredible book that, it's just so helpful to further improve the health of your home, not only, our bodies, but our home.
Okay.
Yeah, just so many. I had someone on recently and we talked about communication, and yeah, it's just been a great experience. Going back to what we first started talking
Mhm.
about, and preparation,
Right.
it's really these organic conversations that I think are the most interesting.
Oh,
You know, I,
they're the most fun. I mean, behind the scenes, and you know this as much as I do, they're the most fun. And
yes,
I am sure you've been on, and don't mention any names here because I know I've listened to these where the host has to ask these particular questions because they have them written down,
yeah,
regardless of what your past answer was. And it just doesn't sound, in my opinion, it doesn't sound human.
authentic.
Authentic,
Yes,
that's the right word, authentic, right. So I like to
yeah,
think that things will be authentic. So again, if someone wants to listen to this, they go to staceycrew.com, and I'll be linking to all this in the show notes as well. So whatever
great.
platform you're watching and or listening to this on, look at the show notes. It's all there. And they can find all your episodes, correct?
They can. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I mean, we've come to learn that with, platforms like we're on today, which I really like because we can see each other. And then when people rewatch it, they can see, because, your face tells a lot when you're, you know, but podcasts.
Oh, don't only say that too much.
Well, my face too. I mean, all of our faces.
Face is half of the screen, folks. Will you please? All right.
But you know, you can get a sense of when someone is being funny. You know, when it's coming across as you know, funny or sarcastic or whatever it is. But
Right.
you know, podcasts are huge, and you know, we're returning to the days of radio. I feel like in a lot of ways, you know, that organic conversation, which is, you know, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Fantastic. Well, you know, our time is about up, but man, this has been great. And I'm sure you and I could talk for hours on all this stuff. I'm sure about that.
Yes.
Again, if somebody wanted to reach you or contact you, how would they do that? How can they find you?
And you can reach out to me at hello@staceycrew.com. I'm pretty active on my Facebook page, which is Stacey Crew. And that's the public page. And then also on Instagram, I hang out there quite a bit. It's kind of a happy place. And that's Stacey Crew Wellness.
Okay. Well, and once again, I'll link to all these in the show notes. So if folks, if you're driving, don't worry about writing them down. Look at the show notes, or you can always contact me and I can get a message over to Stacey. That's not a problem there. So, again, Stacey, thank you for being part of Top Fitness Strategies and Top Fitness Strategies Presents podcast. I appreciate it. You're welcome to come back anytime. And if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out to me. And we can do this again sometime. So this has been great. Any parting words you want to say to anybody?
I just want to say thank you so much for the conversation today. It has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to returning someday.
Fantastic. Okay. All right, folks. Again, this has been Andrew, Stacey Crew, Top Fitness Strategies, and Top Fitness Strategies Presents. Check it out, topfitnessstrategies.com, Fitness Over 50. I am the face who runs the place. So until next time, this is me and Stacey. Ciao.